inheritance. There's a couple different ways to do it. One of them that I've been using is constructor chaining. You can tell if something's calling another constructor up higher within a different vtable, because you can call multiple constructors within your own vtable. That doesn't mean it's inheriting. That just means that there's an overloaded constructor. Then you know that it's an inherited class. Another thing is scope of methods, how it's being called, if it's calling another vtable, basically kind of the same thing. Then we also have, if you ever see a vtable that has pure virtual in it, that's obviously a base class, because that cannot be called. Another thing you have too is you have different vtables, right? And if at the same offset it points to the same method, there's inheritance involved. Because if the EAX plus 8 is a certain location, and two different types of object can be that means that it's going to have the same method if they share that method at the same offset. So all you have to do is look at these vtables, see if any of them match at the same offset, and boom, there's some type of relationship between those two classes. So the same type of thing that can be done with the UML style graphs with displaying public and private, protected, whatnot, can also be done for inheritance. So, you know, pretty soon you can come up with this whole kind of program design UML graph for binary code with almost nothing. So this is also the thing that I think will make a lot of things work faster and work together, is this whole standard API, standard interface between tools. I think this should be an open interface. I'm going to pretty soon maybe start up a website, have blocks on there. It'll be all free code, because I want people to be able to use it and use it freely. So it's kind of like a software JTAG is kind of the concept. Like a hardware JTAG still has compatibility problems. It's not perfect. Like different tools don't necessarily speak the same JTAG, but it's just kind of like a concept that I want different tools to be able to work together through the same interface. And I haven't determined how I want that to work yet, but that's the basic concept. That I want different viewers, disassemblers, debuggers, whatever it is, to be able to be swapped out. And this is not just for runtime. Asm right here gave me like a great idea, was that taking the IDA disassembly, whatever data that you have from that, and how about if you feed it into MATLAB? That has beautiful graphing functions, beautiful analysis, and stuff like that hasn't really been done. So what has to happen for this to work is there's not a lot of work actually to it. The interface and the API has to have been developed or whatnot, but every tool is going to need a plugin to be able to talk to that interface. Registers, machine-specific information can be abstracted out. I would love to be able to use one controller and be able to have that talk to my cell phone, which is running ARM. And it doesn't matter that it's a different CPU as long as the debugger that's running on it speaks that same interface. Or it could be talking to like a PPC machine, or be talking to a Spark running in Linux. It shouldn't matter what the OS and what the processor it's running. Some problems and some downsides of this is it's definitely not for anything that's going to have anti-debugging. If you have a standard interface, it's very easy to detect that you're being debugged, because you have to communicate through the standard. So this is not going to be useful for doing like malware analysis or any type of anti-reversing type of stuff. So I'm going to show a little bit more of the code and stuff, but the whole idea is that we have all these separate tools. They're not talking together. They need to talk together. It can be way more efficient than it is right now, and it's not really going to take that much work. And we can come up with like a coupled framework. I think PyMay is really a step in the right direction, and getting that to talk to different tools is going to be one of the first steps. But this is how it has to go, because right now we're kind of limited to what we have, right? We have IDA. It comes from, that's like the disassembler. It comes from one vendor, one location. If you have tools for that, it only works with that. It has a debugger in it, but the debugger kind of sucks. I don't know how many of you guys used it. I've used it out of necessity for debugging ARM stuff, but it needs to work with other tools. And I think everyone will benefit from it. So I'm going to go over real quick how simple that the code was to do the cross-reference stuff, and you'll see you'll be able to do this kind of stuff the same. Hold on for a second. Keeps getting unplugged. So all we do is we look at a selection, and we set breakpoints on the vtable. That's all this function here does. We create a handler, and all the handler does is figure out who called it by looking at the stack, looking at the ESP register in this line, and then subtracts 1 from it and finds the head of the instruction, and that's the caller. And then this line here creates a cross-reference. That's all this is. The rest of it is just like setup stuff. That's it. And comments. And this is 80 lines with all that stuff in there. I mean, there's not a lot of code. So, and then you have all the cross-references, and you can, the next version that I'm going to make of this is going to, it'll have a GUI. It'll have different methods for picking out vtables, so you can select, do you want to use the symbol vtables? Do you want to use the method from Halvar's RElib? Do you want to use the method that is in the OpenRCE article? And then it'll pop up all the vtables. Then you select which ones you want to use, and then it'll run it through. It'll tell you which ones were accessed, which were accessed, and you'll be able to work from there. So that's it for the presentation. Look on the blog for code, and now I'll take questions. The code, right now all I have is the simple script. That script, I'll put it on a USB key if you want to find me later. And I'll also put it on the blog when I get back. I'm going to be down here for probably about a week, so it'll be in about a week when I get back. But the full version that has the GUI and all that stuff, that's probably going to take another couple weeks for me to finish. I'm testing that, and I'm also testing the PDB generator and a ELF symbol injector. So those will probably 2 to 3 weeks. Those will be out. Is there any other questions? In the back? Uh-huh. So your question is, am I going to be able to, or whoever is going to be able to determine if it's 2 objects of the same class? Is that your question? Well, every instance of an object is going to point to the same vtable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not looking at, I haven't done that yet at all. As far as I've gotten on that is just to have debug type info object type info in the debugger, so you could tell that it's a different, it's the same object type, but it's going to be at a different address. But I haven't looked at separating different instantiations from each other. Well, I'll take a look at that. It's a good idea. Any other questions? Yeah. Another thing that I was going to look at too is right now all that's being I'm doing right here is just methods, but also looking at private variables and how those are accessed. because I think that'll be helpful too. Any other questions? Yes, I'm reversing the PDB format. Code has not been released. It's still beta testing right now. Actually, this right here, the file that we were looking at, is debughelp.dll, and this comes with WinDebug. And this is the file that is used to load up DLLs. Load up PDBs. So I've been reversing this to figure out the format. Right now, I've just done global, and then next step is local. But the difference between them is the type within the PDB. PDBs are stream-based, so it's almost like a file system where you have different blocks, and it's not in order, and then you're going to have like a directory, and that tells you where the streams are all located. I can talk to you afterwards. All right. Any other questions? All right, cool. Viva la revolución, and I'll see you guys later. Yeah. Well, I was going to look at who is accessing it from what method. So if it's only being accessed from the methods in the V table, or if it's being accessed outside. I mean, there's generally no public variables, and like no one does public variables really. In general. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, that's a problem. But if it's not in the V table, then I usually have an actual address, so I have a cross-reference. Luis, nice to meet you. Do you do a lot of reversing?